I still remember that night like it was yesterday. The night my whole world shattered with a single, unforgettable scene. I had planned a quiet evening at home, hoping to surprise her with dinner and a small gift. But as I stepped into our apartment, the air hit me differently. It was heavy, almost suffocating, and then I saw her not alone, but with another man. They didn't even try to hide it. Laughing, whispering, touching everything I had trusted, everything I thought was real, crumbling in front of my eyes. The cold sting in my chest wasn't just heartbreak, it was the bitter taste of betrayal. For a moment, I froze. My mind raced, but my voice failed me. How long had this been going on? The questions flooded in like a relentless storm. I felt numb yet burning inside, caught between anger and disbelief. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I knew from the way they looked at each other this wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. I stepped back quietly, shutting the door without a sound, my hands trembling. I didn't want to make a scene, not yet. Instead, I spent that night awake, replaying every moment we'd shared, trying to find where I went wrong. How had I missed the signs? Was I just too blind? Too hopeful? The next day, I found myself sitting across from her at the cafe where we first met. Her smile was there, but it felt fake, a mask that couldn't hide the guilt in her eyes. I didn't say anything at first. Instead, I slid across the table 9 bank cards. She blinked in surprise. "Is this money?" she asked, a hint of greed sparkling in her eyes. "No," I said quietly, my voice steady but cold. "It's your debt." Her face froze. For months, I had been quietly paying off credit cards she'd taken out and secret cards she used not just for little luxuries, but for reckless spending while pretending everything was fine. Those 9 cards weren't a gift. They were chains, each one representing lies, betrayal, and the destruction of my trust. She looked at me then, shock mixing with anger and fear. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded. "Because," I said, "I want you to understand what it means to carry the weight of your mistakes." That moment was the start of a downward spiral neither of us could have predicted. Inside, I was torn apart between the love I once had for her and the man she'd become in my eyes. My heart was bleeding, but my mind was sharp, knowing this was just the beginning of a long, painful reckoning. Every time she reached for those cards, it wasn't money she was holding. It was the truth of everything she tried to hide. My name is Ayan. I'm in my late 20s with a lean build, dark hair that I usually keep short, and eyes that once sparkled with hope, but now reflect the weight of too many broken promises. I grew up in a middle-class family where nothing came easy, but we had love the kind that binds you quietly, without grand gestures, but with everyday sacrifices.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
Without grand gestures, but with everyday sacrifices. That upbringing shaped who I am, responsible, loyal, and fiercely protective of the people I care about. She was the light that drew me in. Zara with her soft, honey-toned skin and long black hair that tumbled over her shoulders like a waterfall. Her smile was infectious, her laughter easy, the kind of person who could brighten the darkest room. She had this way of looking at me like I was the only person in the world that mattered, and for a while, I believed I was. Zara was the perfect contrast to me. Where I was cautious and quiet, she was wild and carefree. She worked as a graphic designer, often lost in colors and ideas, chasing dreams with the reckless enthusiasm of youth. She was charming and ambitious but had a secretive side I never understood until it was too late. Our story began 4 years ago in a small cafe where she spilled coffee on my notebook. That clumsy moment sparked a conversation, then friendship, then love. I fell hard, faster than I'd ever expected. She told me stories of her past, how she had struggled with her family's expectations, how she had escaped a controlling home environment, and how she was determined to build a life on her own terms. I admired that fire in her. But beneath her brightness, there were shadows. Zara didn't talk about her finances much, or about the men she dated before me. I thought maybe it was privacy, something she kept to herself. I never imagined it was a web of lies and debts growing silently behind her smiles. In those early days, I was the one who paid for our dates, the one who helped her get a new laptop when her old one died, and the one who trusted her completely. I believed in building something together, even when money was tight. I never asked questions, never doubted her. Maybe that was my biggest mistake. As time went on, Zara's carefree spirit started to feel reckless. She would disappear for hours, sometimes days, claiming work deadlines or emergencies. I told myself it was normal for her job, but deep down, a seed of doubt was planted. The way she guarded her phone, the hushed phone calls, they made me uneasy. Despite my fears, I clung to the love we had built. I convinced myself that if I just showed more patience, if I just kept supporting her, everything would be fine. But I was wrong. The biggest change came when I discovered those 9 bank cards. 9. Each one with limits I never knew existed. Cards she'd applied for in secret, racking up debt for designer clothes, nights out, and luxuries I couldn't afford to buy her. The debts weren't just numbers on paper. They were the cracks in the foundation of our relationship. I realized then that the woman I loved was not the woman I thought she was. I struggled to reconcile the Zara who once confided in me with this stranger who hid so much. It felt like everything was a performance, and I was the only one who hadn't learned the script. My core values, honesty, loyalty, trust, were shattered. I believed in building a future on truth and shared dreams, but Zara's actions challenged all of that. I feared losing not just her, but my own sense of self. Who was I if the person I loved could betray me so deeply? Could I forgive her? Could I move forward without being haunted by the past? At the same time, I was afraid of loneliness. I'd invested so much in us that letting go felt like losing a part of myself. But staying meant living a lie, and I wasn't sure I could do that anymore. Deep inside, I still hoped for a chance to fix what was broken. To find a way back to the girl who spilled coffee on my notebook, who dreamed of freedom and happiness. But the road to that possibility was tangled in pain, lies, and the looming shadow of debt. As I sit here now, looking at those 9 bank cards, each a symbol of betrayal and broken trust, I know my journey is far from over. I have to choose between clinging to the past or facing the harsh truth and fighting for my own future. The day everything fell apart started with a simple message on my phone, a text from a number I didn't recognize, but the words were painfully clear.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
I didn't recognize, but the words were painfully clear. I saw her with someone else. I stared at it, my heart skipping beats, a cold knot forming in my stomach. Part of me wanted to dismiss it, to call the sender a liar, but the doubt was already creeping in. I didn't want to believe it. Not Zara. Not the woman who'd promised me loyalty and love. But the seed of suspicion had been planted months ago, growing silently in the back of my mind. I decided to confront her, not with accusations, but with questions. That evening, when Zara came home, I waited. She was cheerful, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. We sat down for dinner, the same routine we'd had so many times before, but my eyes couldn't stop searching her face for clues. "Zara," I said, voice steady but firm, "I need to talk to you." She looked up, surprised but curious. "What's wrong?" "I saw a message today. Someone said they saw you with another man." Her smile faltered. For a brief moment, I thought she might confess, but instead, she laughed it off. "You're jealous," she said, reaching for my hand. "There's nothing going on." But I could see it in her eyes, the hesitation, the guilt. I wanted to believe her, but my heart was shattered into pieces. Days passed, and my world became a silent battlefield. Zara grew distant, defensive when I asked questions. I tried to give her space, but the doubt gnawed at me relentlessly. Then came the first argument, a fight over money. I found another credit card statement in the pile of mail, a balance I didn't recognize. When I asked her about it, she snapped, "Why are you digging through my things? Don't you trust me?" That night, the facade cracked. I confronted her again, this time with everything I had uncovered, the 9 bank cards, the debts, the lies. Her face paled, and for the first time, she didn't deny it. "I didn't want to worry you," she whispered. I thought I could handle it. I was stunned. Betrayed. Angry. You were hiding your entire life from me. How could you do this? The conflict wasn't just about the money or the cheating anymore. It was about trust, the foundation of everything we had built. I felt like a fool for ignoring the signs, for believing in a future that was built on secrets. In the midst of this chaos, other people began to appear in the story, people I never expected. Zara's best friend Maya, who had always seemed supportive, suddenly became distant. I learned she knew about the debts, but chose to keep quiet. Her silence felt like another betrayal. Then there was Faizan, the man Zara was seeing with a charming, smooth talker who worked in her office. I discovered they had been spending time together, not just as colleagues. His smug confidence made me hate him instantly. And every time I saw his name on her phone, my anger flared. The first conflict shattered the illusion of our perfect relationship. I was left picking up the pieces, confused, hurt, and unsure of what to do next. My reaction was a complex mix of devastation and fury. I wanted to scream, to break something, but all I could do was sit in silence and try to process the magnitude of the betrayal. My mind was a whirlwind of questions with no answers. At the same time, I was afraid to lose her completely. Despite everything, I still loved her, the woman I thought I knew, the woman I wanted to believe in. That internal battle became my prison. The conflict had only just begun, and the road ahead was uncertain, filled with emotional landmines and painful truths waiting to explode. The days after the confrontation felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every time I looked at Zara, my heart twisted in knots. I was drowning in emotions I didn't know how to handle: love, anger, betrayal, and confusion all tangled together like a storm raging inside me. I couldn't stop replaying her words in my head. I didn't want to worry you. I thought I could handle it. Was it really just about debt? Or was there something more she was hiding? The way she avoided my eyes, the way her voice trembled when she spoke, none of it added up. I wanted to hate her, to push her away. But my heart betrayed me every time she touched my hand or smiled that familiar smile. It was like loving a ghost, something beautiful but unreachable. The house felt suffocating. I found myself pacing the rooms, staring at the 9 bank cards I had taken from her, the plastic rectangles now symbols of broken trust and hidden lies. What else was buried beneath the surface? What other secrets had she kept from me? The suspense was suffocating. I started checking her phone when she wasn't around, hoping to find answers, but all I got were cryptic messages and strange contacts I didn't recognize. One text stood out, a message from someone named R saying, "We need to talk. Things are getting complicated." Who was AR? And what was so complicated? Zara's behavior grew more secretive. She stayed out late, her phone always on silent. When I asked, she brushed it off with vague answers: work, stress, deadlines. But her eyes told a different story. I caught glimpses of fear, maybe guilt, but also something darker I couldn't name. My mind became a battlefield. I was torn between wanting to confront her again and fearing what the truth might be. Part of me hoped this was all a misunderstanding, that somehow we could fix what was broken. Another part, darker and angrier, wanted to walk away and never look back. The dilemma was eating me alive. Should I give her another chance, risk my heart again, or end it before it broke further? Was I being naive, blinded by love? Or was I justified in holding on to the hope that the girl I fell for still existed somewhere beneath the lies? Late one night, as I sat alone scrolling through old photos of us, I found a message from her that I hadn't seen before. "Please don't ask too many questions. Some things are better left."
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
"Please don't ask too many questions. Some things are better left unsaid." Those words haunted me. What was she hiding? And why did I feel like I was losing control of a story I once thought I was writing? The suspense wasn't just about her secrets anymore. It was about me, about whether I could find the strength to face the truth, no matter how painful. Every knock on the door, every unexpected phone call made my heart race. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the next betrayal to reveal itself. The tension between us grew, unspoken, but electric. The more I tried to understand, the deeper the mystery became. And the more I realized that sometimes the biggest battles aren't with others, they're with ourselves. Just when I thought I had grasped the full extent of Zara's deception, the truth hit me like a freight train, and this time, it was worse than I could have imagined. One evening, I was going through some of her emails, hoping to find clarity, when I stumbled upon a conversation that made my blood run cold. It wasn't about shopping or parties, it was about something far darker. Zara had been borrowing money not just to cover her debts, but from a loan shark. The emails were filled with threats, payment schedules, and desperate promises. The R I'd seen in her texts? That was Raza the enforcer, who wasn't just a nameless contact but a looming presence in her life. Someone who had been pressuring her for weeks. She wasn't just hiding a financial mess. She was trapped in something dangerous, something she had never told me about. The gravity of it crushed me. My mind spun. How had I missed this? How had I trusted her so blindly when her world was crumbling behind a fragile smile? The twist forced me to reevaluate everything. Zara's lies weren't just about betrayal or infidelity. They were cries for help I hadn't seen. I realized that she hadn't been hiding from me to hurt me, but because she was scared, terrified of the consequences if her secret came out. The weight of this revelation tore through me. Anger battled with pity. Love mixed with despair. Could I still stand by her, knowing the dangers she faced? Or was it safer for both of us to walk away? As I wrestled with these questions, the relationships around us shifted drastically. Maya, Zara's best friend, finally broke her silence. She admitted she had known about the loan shark and tried to warn Zara, but Zara refused to listen. Maya's guilt was palpable, but so was her fear. She pleaded with me to be patient, to understand that Zara was fighting battles none of us fully saw. Faizan, the man I had despised, revealed a surprising side. He wasn't just a coworker having an affair, he was someone trying to help Zara, even lending her money to keep the loan shark at bay. That didn't excuse his closeness with her, but it complicated the story. The dynamics between us became a tangled web. Trust was frayed, alliances fragile. I was caught in the middle trying to protect the woman I loved, navigating a maze of lies, debts, and dangerous people. This turning point didn't just change the story, it changed me. It forced me to confront uncomfortable truths about love, loyalty, and sacrifice. I realized that sometimes the hardest choice isn't between love and hate, but between letting go and holding on when everything around you is falling apart. The night everything came crashing down was unlike any other. The air was thick with tension, every second stretched taut like a wire ready to snap. I knew this was the moment, the ultimate test that would decide if what was left between Zara and me could survive, or if it would shatter completely. I stood outside her apartment, the 9 bank cards heavy in my pocket, a symbol of everything broken between us. My heart pounded in my chest, echoing the chaos inside my mind. Part of me wanted to run away, to give up on a love that had turned into a battlefield. But another part, the part that still loved her, pulled me forward. When Zara opened the door, her face was pale, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and guilt. The moment I stepped inside, I could feel the weight of every...
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
The moment I stepped inside, I could feel the weight of every secret, every lie hanging between us. Without saying a word, I placed the 9 bank cards on the table. "This isn't money," I said quietly, my voice trembling. "It's your debt, your burden, and it's tearing us apart." Her eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted you to know like this. I tried to fix it on my own, but you didn't tell me," I said, anger rising. "You let me believe in a lie." She shook her head, voice breaking. "I was scared of losing you, scared of what would happen if I asked for help." The room felt smaller with each word, suffocating us both. Then came the moment I dreaded, the confrontation that would change everything. "Why Faizan?" I asked sharply. Why him? Was he just a friend, or something more? Zara looked away, silence hanging heavy. He was helping me. When I was drowning in debt, he lent me money to keep Raza off my back. I didn't mean for it to go further. I wanted to believe her, but the hurt was too deep. You lied about everything. The cheating, the secrets. I don't know what's true anymore. Suddenly, the door burst open. Raza stormed in, his presence dark and threatening. You think you can run from this? He snarled, eyes locked on Zara. My fists clenched, adrenaline surging. This wasn't just about debts anymore. It was about survival. I stepped in front of Zara, heart pounding. Leave, now. Raza laughed coldly. Or what? You'll fight me? The tension exploded. Words became weapons, but then it turned physical a struggle, desperate and raw. In that moment, everything else faded. The love, the betrayal, the pain, all reduced to a fight for safety. When the dust settled, Raza was gone, but the damage was done. Zara collapsed into tears, and I held her, feeling the weight of the past weeks crushing down on us both. The choice was clear now. Fight to rebuild what was broken or walk away forever. I looked into her eyes, searching for the girl I had fallen in love with. We need help, I whispered, together. For the first time in a long time, hope flickered. The days after that night felt like walking through fog, every step uncertain, but necessary. Zara and I had faced the darkest parts of our story, and now we were left with the fragile hope of rebuilding what had been broken. The debts didn't disappear overnight, and the scars of betrayal still ran deep. But we began to confront the reality together. We reached out for help: financial advisors, counselors, and most importantly, each other. It wasn't easy. There were nights filled with tears and anger, moments when I questioned if this was worth the pain. But in those moments I learned something important. Love isn't just about passion or happiness. Sometimes, love is about fighting for someone even when everything inside you screams to let go. Zara was no longer the girl hiding secrets behind a smile. She was someone trying to find strength in vulnerability, learning to trust again. I saw her fears, her regrets, but also her courage to face them. And me? I changed too. The betrayal cut deep, but it also opened my eyes. I realized I had been blinded by my own expectations, too quick to judge and too slow to listen. I learned that trust is fragile, but also something we have to nurture every day, even when it's painful. Our relationship became a delicate dance of honesty and forgiveness, filled with both setbacks and small victories. We made a promise: no more secrets, no more pretending. One evening, months later...
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Secrets, no more pretending. One evening, months later, we sat together in our small apartment, the atmosphere quiet but warm. The 9 bank cards that once symbolized destruction now lay tucked away in a drawer, a reminder of a past we were determined to overcome. Zara reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. "Thank you for not giving up on me," she whispered. I smiled, feeling a peace I hadn't known in a long time. "Thank you for trusting me enough to let me in." As we looked out the window at the city lights, I realized that this was more than a new beginning. It was a testament to the strength of love tested by fire. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was real. And sometimes, that's enough. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, I wasn't afraid.